Thanks for joining us on another episode of So What's Next? I'm your host, Jeremy Maedon.
And I'm your co-host, Kristen Smith.
And I'm Anita and I'm a guest.
I'm Maedon Coburn, the president of Appleseed Personnel in Leominster.
Wonderful. I'm so glad to have you on today, both of you, a legacy and the continuing legacy. And tell me a little bit about Appleseed and give me a quick spiel as to what that is.
Okay, well, we are a full-service staffing firm located in Leominster. We specialize in temporary, temp-to-hire, and direct placement. Mostly temp-to-hire, because we do really want to help people in the community find full-time careers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We do resume writing, we do career coaching, kind of your full-service staffing.
Fantastic. And you can be found online, I hope?
Appleseedpersonnel.com.
There we are. All right, wonderful. And we'll put your contact information on the screen as well for your phone number, etc. And we'll do that during editing. So.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for being here, both of you. I'm really, really happy that we got to do this today.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
so much.
So we'll do our introductions towards the end, and we're just going to edit them to be at the beginning, obviously. But we're just going to continue conversation instead of starting from scratch. Tell me a little bit about, honestly, the origins of your business, Anita.
Very interesting. Actually, a gentleman was at my home as a dinner guest. He was my husband's supervisor. And I was selling him a diet product. And he said, "You're really good at sales. Have you ever thought of going into personnel?" And I said, "Well, I've always been interested in personnel, but being a woman in the 50s, when I worked in an office in personnel, I would never see myself climbing to a director because they were males." And so I'd always been interested in personnel. And I had worked in an organization in Florida where I was helping women get their first job and to become independent. Mm-hmm. So I again was working in personnel. And he was the financier, suggested I work with an existing organization in Worcester to work my way in and learn the business. Mm-hmm. So that's how it started.
Wow. And this happened at a house party?
They were our dinner guests one Sunday.
Okay. Yeah. And that's where the idea was born, so to speak.
And it was out of selling something to him.
And were you actively selling, or were you just talking up a
I was actively selling.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So you were already putting on the charm.
I was doing my thing.
You're doing your thing. All right. So best foot forward.
Yeah.
And it led to, quite frankly.
So that summer, and I was underemployed. I had moved quite a bit, and I have quite a bit of education. And who wants to hire a middle-aged woman overeducated for the jobs that I was even applying for? Because in education at that point, I was working in a couple community colleges and a graduate course I was teaching in Salem and here and there, but I was not employed the way I needed to be.
What were you teaching?
Education.
Okay, right. Primarily aimed at early childhood?
Early childhood. I spent a long time in the early childhood department at Salem State. And actually during that time of low employment, I was a coordinator of training in a large daycare in Hudson. So I was doing all kinds of things that were associated with education.
Got it.
But I was not adequately employed.
Sure, I understand that, yeah.
So I was ready to look for something.
Yeah.
And when he talked about it, then he started setting up. He was not actively working in the business,
okay.
But he was a financer.
Interesting. All right. So that's where the idea was born. But how did that get furthered along? What kind of journey did you take?
Well, that summer, I worked in the office in Worcester that was in the Telegram building, and did some sales.
I've actually been in that building.
Okay.
Since it got closed down, and I photographed multiple sections of it.
That's interesting. That's interesting. and worked with the employees that were there with the idea I was learning the business. And at the end of the summer, do you still want to do it, was the question to me. And I said, yeah, I really do. And so we decided, well, he knew that he would like to have it in Leominster. And we had moved there in 84, and I started the business in 84. We moved there in March or something of 84, and I started the business in October. That was when I opened the doors and said, I'm ready. But
Now, is that your current office location, or have you?
No, lots of moves.
Lots of moves. Sorry.
I was very interested in being on Main Street.
Yep.
Not long ago, I met the mayor when I first moved back from Florida.
Yep.
And he said he knew who I was. I was the first woman to start a business on Main Street. I don't know that, but if he thinks that, great.
We'll take it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's wonderful. And this is Maedon Mozzarella.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's great. So how many years ago was that?
That was 1984.
1984. All right. And so you we're at 40 years now of business. Has it been underneath the same name as far as Appleseed?
Yes.
Okay.
And Appleseed, my choice of Appleseed was it was historic,
Yeah.
and also it'd be first in the phone book, and phone books were in then.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Good choice.
cool.
Yeah, which
That's
is why,
very cool.
which is where AAA came from.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So they could get literally the first record.
I couldn't quite get ahead of them.
You did good, though.
Yeah, yeah, you can do like quadruple A staffing or something like that, right?
Right.
So, but no, that's interesting. All right, so that works.
And I had to form a new corporation because when people are helping finance you, they don't want you to take them, the existing building, the existing company down. So I had to go through incorporating, which I had ninth grade typing as my only business course.
Okay.
And I'm sure it showed up throughout the years, but that was the only business I had.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and information was not as readily available then as it is now.
no, you're right.
Yeah. So I have absolutely no business training whatsoever, but we successfully employ 16 people. So it's one of those things where I've kind of learned it as I've gone,
Right.
you know, and through hiring coaches and attending seminars and honestly ingesting a lot of information online and filtering through the bad information that you don't know is bad at the time, you know. So there's that whole thing. So, but you had to learn this in a very different environment
Yes,
at a
I did.
very different time of history, and being a woman to boot in all of that. So you must have really faced a lot of significant hardships as far as like being able to break into things that was maybe not something that was just natural.
Yeah. It was so different from education,
Yeah.
the public sector, and then
Sure.
into your own business. And, you know, I typed on an electric typewriter all the forms,
Oh, wow.
every form that we used, and then took them to the printers to have them copied. And so, and ninth grade typing is what I depended on.
Yeah.
Wow. Now,
All
was
right.
it just you at that time?
When I started, and then I hired someone. I don't know where I met her. I've tried to think. Maybe it was like a Girl Scout Sunday or something, and I sat across from her at a
Yeah,
table.
just someone.
Yeah.
And she had been working at Market Basket in the deli,
Okay.
and she came in and she worked quite a time. And
Was she with you a while?
yeah, she was there. I wish I could think how long,
Sure.
but she was there quite a while.
But a remarkable amount.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And she would allow me to then be out in the public trying to
Yeah.
generate business.
Scalability.
And, you know, we had Kelly, national, Olson, national, and a couple others. There were not, like now there are many that seem to be independent.
Yep.
But it was an independent.
Yep. And you predominantly worked with local businesses, or were
Yes.
you trying to regionalize?
Well, because I was very active in the Chamber of Commerce, and we were becoming a regional chamber,
Yep.
I think I pushed regionally through north central Mass, not just Fitchburg, Leominster,
Sure.
but they were our primary base.
Okay. All right. And so since 84, you've called Leominster Fitchburg your home?
Well, until I moved to Florida. I was a snowbird after Maedon's father died, and I was single for a while. I remarried, and we did a lot of traveling because he was retired. But I've came back to Leominster
Sure. Okay.
about 3 years ago.
This has always been your landing pad in the
Now,
end. Okay. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. So, Maedon, let's introduce you into the mixture of Appleseed. How did you get involved? Other than the fact that your mom.
I got involved in 1990 for a little while. I was a stay-at-home mom with 2 young children, but my sister was working at Appleseed,
Okay.
and she had a child, and I covered her maternity leave, and I really liked it.
Okay.
I really liked it. And I think I liked it better than she liked it,
Oh.
even working there full time.
Okay.
So I had some life changes. I was going through a divorce and I needed a full-time job.
Sure.
And I was like, I want to do that. So my mom and I sat and talked, and she wouldn't hire me. She told me no.
Your mom wouldn't hire you.
No. I probably wouldn't have hired me either.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, hey,
Because-
there's a level of self-awareness and honesty right there.
Right?
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
good.
have it then. I have it now.
Yeah.
Because I just was going to come in and change the world. Like, I
Sure.
knew exactly what was what. And she said, no, it's been a while since you worked, because I'd been home with babies. She said, you get another job for a while.
Okay.
Like, oh, well, could you help me?
Yeah.
Because you do placement. So she did.
She's like, no, I don't know how to place you.
I don't know what to do with you.
I feel like I can't give that recommendation right now.
So she did. They placed me at a computer company. I worked there about 10 months.
Okay.
And then I joined Appleseed in 91 I think I went in as an operations manager because I knew quite a bit about the business.
Okay.
And my sister had left the business.
After the maternity leave, she
Scooted
did
in.
not.
I don't think she might have gone back for a little bit,
Okay.
but it was no longer her desire.
Her focus, yeah. That's fine.
So
Yeah.
I joined in 91.
Okay. And you've been with them since.
Have.
Fantastic.
I have.
Okay.
I purchased the business at the end of 96
Oh,
into
okay.
early 97 because my mom had remarried and was traveling a lot and ready to kind of move on, and I was ready to move Appleseed forward as
So
well.
you got the reins at that point.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
All right. So, Anita, what kind of involvement do you have with the business at this point?
just enjoying Maedon doing well.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
That is really
I'm
fantastic.
proud of what she's brought it to.
That's wonderful. So you're to the point where it's a legacy now. So that's,
Yeah.
well, I mean, honestly, that's a
It's-
wonderful place to be.
It is, and it's very exciting after 40 years
Yeah.
that it's still there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
My wife and I have 4 girls, and not one of them yet has expressed interest in taking the reins of the business at some point. I'm expecting at some point that someone's going to ask. So I don't know how I'm going to navigate that. Not that anything can really prepare you to navigate that, I'm guessing. But no, it's really nice to hear your journey. It's wonderful. So tell us a little bit about what happened between 91 and 97, 96 or 97 when you purchased?
It started in 96,
Okay.
the process of the buyout.
All right. So you had like 5 years of working there.
Right.
And what kind of changes did you experience? Did you help with, et cetera?
Like I said, I was operations manager for a couple years, and then there was an incident that needed an officer to take care of it, and she pulled one of her last ranks, I think, and said, "I'm going to make you vice president, so you take care of this."
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
well, there.
All right.
She made me like a little plaque to make it feel good, but
Yeah.
that was that's how
That was akin
went.
to saying, "Not my job."
Yeah.
Or I'm done with this part of life. Yeah.
Yeah. So I continued in Leominster. We had one office
Okay.
at the time. I was getting business in the Gardner area
Yeah.
and decided that we would open in Gardner.
Okay.
And we had a very successful Gardner office
Yeah.
up until the recession hit
In 08, 09.
in '08.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had to close that down.
Sure.
We had an office for a brief time in Athol,
Mhm.
but I realized I was getting about the same kind of business. So at one point,
There was a
when
lot of overlap.
a lot of overlap.
Yeah, and overhead increased.
Right.
Sure.
Right. And my kids were young teens, and I was traveling, Leominster, Gardner, Athol, and I'd
Yeah.
find myself in Athol at 6 p.m. and say, oh, that's right.
All right.
So we did Gardner and Leominster for a long time, and in '08 I closed Gardner, and we remained just in Leominster
Okay.
at this point.
Yep.
We did move off of Main Street, and we are over on Whitney Street by the Whitney Field Mall.
Yeah.
We've been there for about almost 12 years.
Okay. Are you enjoying your current space?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I really do. I thought I would miss like kind of the hustle bustle of Main Street. I don't. I really like where we are.
Your business requires hustle bustle, or is it something that could exist in any office park, so to speak?
It needs to be accessible
Yep.
because we deal with a hugely diverse population.
Okay.
Some people have transportation, some people don't have transportation.
Got
So
it.
for us to be
Has to be on a bus route.
easily accessible is important.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So when people say personnel services or staffing or temp services, or like, there's a bunch of different terms that you can throw at that general job field. How do you carve your own niche of business out of it? What is your primary demographic as far as are these permanent placements? Are they temp staffing? How does it run?
So I don't really like the term temp.
Okay.
I probably don't like it because she taught me not to like it. But I get it. I
Apples
get
and
it
trees,
because we're working with people.
Yeah.
And we're doing real things for real people.
Sure.
And temp has sort of a
Connotation.
it has a negative connotation
Yes.
to
Okay.
it that you can just be replaced.
Yeah.
And you can't.
All right.
So
a bit more transient.
we consider ourselves a full service staffing firm.
Okay.
We do temporary employment
Sure.
for seasonal needs, for maternity leaves,
Yep.
for medical, whatever you need on that end. Our wheelhouse is temp to hire. It has always been my desire to help people in my community get lasting full-time work.
Sure.
So temp to hire is our wheelhouse, and we're known for it. People know that if they're looking for a career to come see us. We don't do a lot of short-term, just day labor kind of stuff.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. And so when somebody works through your agency, explain to our general population how that approach happens. Do they fill out I-9s and W-4s with you guys? Mm-hmm. Okay, so
So we are a legitimate employer,
Yep.
with all the requirements that any employer has.
Yep.
They would come to us and fill out an application. We meet with them, talk to them about what their skills are, what they might like to do, maybe what they don't want to do, and then we start trying to match them with clients that have open positions.
Mm-hmm.
When that has happened, then we take their I-9, their W-4, any sort of skill testing or background checks
Yeah.
or any of that that's needed, and that employee is our employee
Sure.
for the first, in general, 500 hours
Yep.
that they're employed.
Yep.
And it gives them a chance to see how well they like the job. It gives the client a chance to see if that's a good fit. And, during their training time, they remain our employee.
And how do you keep track of them? Like, is it mostly like you kind of hand them over, or do you still keep an ongoing?
We stay in touch with them. And it's gotten harder to do that because it used to be every Thursday they lined up to get their paycheck. And I could see them.
But everything's digital.
Okay.
Right? Now they get direct deposit or
Yeah.
a bank card, and so
Yeah.
we don't get to see them as
Oof.
often. So we try to do things like pizza parties at my clients.
Okay.
And we go out and then we can see our people and
Yeah.
we
Sure.
send cards and we'll check in we now have a corporate texting system, so we can text them, how you doing?
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
we try to maintain that close relationship with
Yeah.
them as they transition into a new career.
Do you feel that the introduction of more virtual gateways like that has resulted in a higher turnover of your clientele? Or rather, your employees, I guess, maybe.
Probably.
Okay.
I mean, there's definitely a higher turnover,
Yeah.
and that's part of it.
Okay. Are they turning over to another staffing agency, or are they just simply going on to a different job?
I think most of the time onto a different job, and I think specifically since COVID,
Yeah.
it's a money chase.
Uh-huh. Oh,
know?
I know.
And
I know.
so then, I have them take off for $1 an hour more.
Yeah.
And 2
That's
months
hard.
later, call me and say, "Oh, I didn't realize, it's the job's a half an hour away when this one was 5 minutes away." It
Yeah.
is definitely a money chase, unfortunately.
Yeah. Primarily, I think that's more of a inflation, not so much a COVID thing. And, I mean, from our employment standpoint, when things started skyrocketing back in 01, 02, it really got out of hand fast.
Right.
I mean, cost of living has significantly gone up, and that obviously the starter career populations are most affected by that kind of change. And I think in your business, and to a degree in ours as well, we're having to readdress our pay rates, not because of actual business profits going up, but because of cost of living going up to the point where we have to keep up with that. Otherwise, we're going to lose people.
Right.
And so it's hard because then we're, of course, passing on that cost to the client. So we have to raise our rates, et cetera. And it gets to the point where sometimes you're like, I already went for a price increase this year. I can't do it again,
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
And I think last year we actually went for 3 price increases just to keep up with inflation. And they were each minor, but it's just to the point where it feels excessive at that point,
Right. Right.
But yeah, the dollar chase is a very difficult one.
Yeah, and I do think, where COVID showed up in our industry was the bonus to work, the extra dollars if you were an essential worker. People got used to that,
Oh, okay. Yep.
and then that needed to go away because it was time to get back to whatever normal is. But they were used to that, and they were still looking for that. So we're still seeing some of that.
Sure. What is the most enjoyable part of your business?
Watching people succeed, watching people think they can't do something and doing it,
Nice.
And we have some people that they're with the same company 30 years later, and they've gone from front desk to one of them's a VP of gas sales at National Grid. It's like, whoa. And I run into her. She's become a friend. I run into
Sure.
her, and she's like, it never would have happened. I never would have taken that job. So to watch people
That's incredible.
succeed and be happy in their employment is thrilling.
That's wonderful. So conversely, what's the hardest part?
Getting those people to understand they are going to be thrilled
Okay.
one day. Yeah,
All right.
it is a recruitment issue
Getting
at
them
this point.
to believe in themselves.
Yep. It's a recruitment issue right now.
What steps are you taking to help people believe in themselves?
So I think using a staffing service like Appleseed can be a great tool for that, because one of my staff sits with every single person that comes in. And I realized this, and I told this story at a chamber networking thing. I was asked to do a resume about 15 years ago to sit on a board. And I was like, sure, I do resumes all the time. And I sat down and I was like,
Oh.
I actually don't know how to do anything.
Yeah.
That's how it felt,
Sure.
right? And I had to start peeling that onion
Yeah.
and realizing the skills I had that I hadn't had to look at in all those years.
And write
I
down.
thought,
Yeah.
I thought, well, I'm unemployable.
You're definitely
so
not.
I know
Sure.
that other people feel that way.
Yeah.
So when I start talking to them about soft skills, Soft skills, what are those?
Yeah.
Well, you did this at this job, but look at all the other things you did.
Right.
Because of that.
It's
So
not a matter of function at your job. It's more of a matter of what comes from within you
Right.
that allows you to think beyond the job.
Right. I just helped a guy he's 62 years old, has a PhD in chemistry.
Oh,
And he's like, I want to go to work,
yeah.
but how do I do that? And so we sat and peeled it back, and
Yeah.
he has a ton of skills in marketing and sales and all these things that he wasn't looking at because he was so focused on the fact that he couldn't get a job
Sure.
as a chemist anymore.
Sure.
So I think through conversation, through this kind of thing,
Beautiful.
Right.
you
and
help people
that's
understand.
so similar to what we're doing here.
It is.
It's
It is.
and that's why I think drew me towards you. You know, like hearing your story, you know, helped just discover everything that we're trying to do aligns. You know, you're just trying to help people like understand how amazing they are, and sometimes they just don't get it. You know,
Right.
and we're just there to help them along and you know, encourage them to go for it.
Yeah.
So, in contrast, what were the challenges that you experienced between 84 and 96 ish?
And one of the things I did not is I ended up buying out the Worcester organization
Okay.
in the early 90s.
Okay.
So when we talked
So you have some
regional-
acquisitions in there.
Yes, and so it came into the Appleseed,
Yeah.
which is kind of fun. You know, you begin with somebody and then you buy them out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's
primarily-
remarkable.
That's amazing.
That's remarkable.
primarily it was helping young college graduates that were the first generation, first one in their family to have a college education.
Sure.
And they wanted to walk off of that stage where they got their diploma
Yep.
and begin a career. And they didn't understand that flipping hamburgers would help them learn about work and commitment and all those things, and help them to understand that working in a plastics factory wasn't the end of the world. And in Leominster, parents who got their kids through college said, don't get caught up in the plastics.
Yeah.
Get yourself out and
Yeah.
get a professional job.
Sure.
And that was a difficult part at first, was to help them realize that they needed to build some other kind of skills, people skills,
Yep.
Yeah.
commitment to work.
Yeah, it's not just a cold open.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was probably, and that was an aha for me. I expected them to be really happy to make money,
Yeah.
but they were motivated to make big money, not
Big money in the degree program that they
Exactly.
had chosen. And so I actually went to school for computer game programming and design. And prior to that, I was computer science. So I had changed my degree. And here I am, a business owner and photographer,
Yeah.
right? And the arc is bizarre because I came out of college with a degree in computer programming. I could create a computer game from scratch. Great. What did I go do? I went and worked at a print shop. And then from the print shop, I worked in marketing at a food service company. And then from there, I opened up what is now known as Maedon Photography, doing various types of photography services. And the arc to get there meant nothing about my degree program whatsoever. And the truth of the matter is, had I stayed in my degree field, I would probably, I'd be living in a different life. So we can't really, dissect that
Right.
because we have no idea what that would look like. But I am far happier than I ever envisioned myself being when I was just working a desk. Because getting to work with people, quite frankly, is in fact my why, And so you don't discover that in college, though. You discover that through your journey. And so a lot of people, they look at the beginning of the journey and they think to themselves that they can just judge the trail that's ahead of them, and you can't. You have to walk it.
that was always disappointing that they didn't somehow catch that
Yeah.
in their academic work.
Did you feel that that's still the way? Like college graduates coming into the fields?
No, we used to have, you would get ready the 1st of May, and you would have the college box, right? And
Oh.
everybody out for the summer or newly graduate, they
Yeah.
were calling you. And we had a box of just college students that were going to work the summer, knowing in September we'd need to put them away. There's no
doesn't
such thing. It
there's no
doesn't exist.
Wowee. What's replaced it? Or has it just
I
vacated?
think traveling.
Okay.
a gap year,
A gap year, yeah.
a semester abroad. Life is different.
Got it. Okay.
Right?
All right.
So I don't have that challenge. I've had a couple this summer wanting to work, but it's not, it used to be
It
tons.
used to be droves of people.
Right.
So-
It was just a couple.
So on that note, though, are the positions that are no longer being filled still needing filling? Like, meaning the people that would work the college positions, those positions, are they still in existence and the people are just missing, or what?
Some of them, yes.
Okay.
Some of that's gone away.
All right.
Since the recession, I have found that a lot of companies do more with less.
Uh-huh.
You realized what you could squeeze.
Yeah.
And
But that means
some places are paying the price for that now.
Exactly.
Right? That's just, you're losing good people.
Yep.
But
they just get
the
burnout.
part-time, the seasonal, that kind of stuff isn't as huge as it used to be.
Yep.
So
Okay. That makes sense.
seeing it come back a little bit.
Okay. All right. What is the largest growth sector of your business right now, as far as not necessarily the demographic per se, but what kind of work maybe?
Right now, it is light industrial manufacturing work.
Okay.
It's the trades. We kind of got away from that, and everybody's talking
Yep.
about that,
Yep.
right? Kind of got away from that. We're meeting with a welding company on Friday.
Yeah.
So he's like, if you can find welders, and I'm thinking, ooh, that'd be magic, because we don't have the tradespeople in central Massachusetts and in many other places that we used to have.
Sure.
So that's our biggest, probably, growth and demand right
Yeah.
now.
Do you know Joshua Page?
I don't think so.
All right. Joshua Page is, I want to say he lives in Ashburnham, but he's a local guy who is really pushing for the trades. And he actually created a series of books aimed at children to talk a little bit about, college alternate career paths. And it's wonderful. I think the two of you should definitely get
Yeah.
together and have a discussion,
I would
because
love
he would be a good asset. And he experiences similar challenges in regards to filling his own positions, because a lot of times he has to train people from the ground up, have them be apprentices for 5 years or whatever it is in electric, and then they get their journeyman's license and they say peace.
See ya.
And so that's hard for him because that turnover that exists.
Right.
But I can definitely see that being a larger problem. I actually, do you know Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
huge fan of Mike Rowe, huge fan. He actually has a wonderful movie coming out, I want to say on the 30th of this month. Something Worth Standing For is what it's called. And it's about the American journey, and what we can do to honor our ancestors and their efforts and their sacrifices by continuing a life that allows for us all to grow in the industrial complex, so to speak, in a manner that is beneficial for the future, and not just I'm standing by myself kind of thing, but more along the lines of a community effort. And it all gears back toward blue collar jobs, really just Main Street America, really things that are the lifeblood of what communities were built off of. And it's just very quick segue. Sorry about that, but I think that it's applicable to this kind of conversation, because particularly with your business, and you're just talking about the light industrial manufacturing, and then you talked a little bit about coming straight out of college and wanting to go straight to the career path that you had studied in. Those are both the exact same problem, just 30 years apart, 40 years apart. Am I right?
No.
So it just cycles.
Yeah.
That's something
or
you
the problem
really
never
learn.
went away, But it's expectation versus reality, what we can do with ourselves. There's an old adage that people underestimate what they can do in a day and overestimate what they can do in a year. I think that we are our own worst enemies when it comes to defeating our own career paths by not availing ourselves of opportunity that just exists right in front of our face. We say no to it because it might not be the ideal job or the first, that first start that you were looking for kind of thing. I think we need to open up people's eyes to any paycheck that gets you from nothing to something is better than the nothing waiting for something.
Right. And that is it's a concept to reintroduce. It's just shifted away.
Yeah.
But it's a great opportunity when people come to see me because I get to have that conversation with them.
Right.
I'm not interviewing them necessarily for one specific job. I'm interviewing them for what could be.
Sure.
So it's nice
Yeah.
to be able to talk to them about, think about this. Maybe you would look at this, you know,
I
and
like
help
that.
them understand.
I like that. That way they're not targeting too specifically. It's a little bit more of a game of darts where you're saying, well, here's my general skill sets, and then from there you reverse into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting, and we've had this conversation before, is, you know, back probably when you started it, that people had these like long time careers at one place.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember when I submitted my resume to Jeremy, you know, he's like, you've done a lot of things in a lot of different places, you know, and I've had this conversation with people that I've gone to college with that have been at the same company for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've learned so many skills in so many different jobs, you know, whatever it was, you know, and there were times that I was a single mom and I had to do whatever was available because I had to feed my children, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and I think Jeremy as an employer respected that, you know?
Honestly, I respect people that leverage their skill sets over a period of time through different positions and acquiring knowledge. I mean, if you're at like 6 months, well, then I know I'm going to get a 6-month employee, right? But if I see 2, 3, 4 years at each place, well, at that point, you're probably leaving because of self-respect. You're not probably leaving because you burned out with the job or the job wasn't a good fit. It's that maybe you weren't treated right, or maybe there was too much of a glass ceiling there, or whatever. And that's what comes out in interviews, right? So you ask those questions to really get to the answers for that. But yeah, no, we hire people here based off of their soft skills, not whether or not they can take a photo. Like, I've hired a lot of non-photographers who have turned out to be really great photographers, you know. And you know, one of our employees is on maternity leave right now, and prior to this, you know, she did some hobbyist photography on the side, but she worked at CVS for a ridiculous amount of time, way too long, for her own good, because she kept being told, you're such a great assistant manager that we'll never make you a general manager. Like, who does that, right? So when we hired her on, she very quickly became one of my favorites due to the fact that whatever needed to get done, she'd do it, period. Because she just wanted to prove herself, she wanted to learn things, she wanted to grow, she wanted to just adjust. And that's kind of how we approach our hiring. And you know, if I just hired somebody to fill a current need, but not a long-term general goal, we'd be kind of really short-sighted at that point, because we'd only be filling our today need, not our tomorrow need.
And that's what I love about your business too. Like, you're very people oriented. You know, it's like people first. You're not just going to put somebody in a position to fill the position. And I kind of wish I knew about your services when I've been looking for jobs in the past. I mean, what better way than to come in and have you work with somebody to understand their skills and really be that like liaison. You know, you send in a resume, they sit on a desk, you know, now they have computers going through and getting
Right.
keywords.
Right.
I mean, I think it's wonderful what you guys are doing to really care about the people, you know?
And it's a benefit to the people and the clients because I become the employee's sales rep and I become the client's HR, right? So I weed through
Yeah.
and present you with
Yeah.
the very best, and I get your resume on top because I
Yeah.
have a long time relationship with these clients.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You know,
Yeah.
it is a little bit of a learning style or a learning curve for my light industrial clients to understand that 2 or 3 years somewhere is okay.
Yeah,
That is, you know, I mean, these are
Because
people that have been there 20, 25
that's exactly
years.
It. That's exactly it. And so they look at that and they're like, oh, that's not a reliable individual.
Right,
I
right.
would-
So it's a real.
I would solidly disagree with that.
Yes,
you know?
I would too.
Yeah.
I would too, and I would solidly disagree when they tell me someone, you know, we're looking for someone younger. No, you're not. 'Cause this, no, you're not.
No. No.
You know, take this skill. If you get this really, really good skill for
Age.
5 years,
Age doesn't matter.
take it.
Yeah.
No.
No.
So it's an interesting sort of the employee population shifted way faster than the clients.
Okay, that's a fair statement. I can definitely see exactly what you're saying on that, because I think that the employee population is more heavily influenced by the changes in societal expectations, pressure, etc., whereas the companies are much slower to change. So as a result, they don't adapt as easily to hiring techniques or what to expect on a resume, etc. And that, I'm not sure they should be necessarily expected to change so heavily, but nor do I think that they have no role in it, right? Like they definitely have some responsibility in making sure that their hiring practices are adapted to today's population, because otherwise they're going to outgrow themselves, or rather they're going to shrink, rather, But yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So I just wanted to touch upon kind of your take, both of you, in community involvement and how that's helped shape your business and your involvement in both the chambers. I understand you were one of the first. Was it the first chairperson?
I was the first woman chair.
First woman
of the board of the North Central. But the North Central, we have to think, was a combination. In '84, they combined Fitchburg-Leominster and became North Central.
Okay.
So I kind of grew with them because my business was new and I got involved.
Yeah.
And the office was right across Main Street.
Oh.
And I walked over there to pick up information about these cities. After all, I just moved there.
Yep.
I'd lived on the North Shore more of the time.
Where are you from?
Originally from Rochester, New York,
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
but been in New England a long time now.
Wonderful. So you'd walk across the street to the chamber.
To the chamber to gather information about these communities
Yep.
that I was starting a business in as a very, very naive business owner.
Sure.
But it was an exciting adventure.
Yep.
I was excited by it.
Yep.
It was challenging.
The opportunity to grow together with the chamber, though, I'm
Yes.
sure was very instrumental in your own personal development.
It was, and I became very involved.
Yeah.
I took on things like the Women's Executive Network. I said one day at a table where we were having a brainstorming about activities that could happen, I said, how about a brown bag lunch for women in executive positions in this area? And they kind of poo-pooed me, And I said, well, let's try it. Well, it became one of the most involved with, didn't they get up to 200 or so people?
It was the most
That's
well-attended
so cool.
monthly thing that she started. And I remember saying, I'm not going, Mom. Because we were working together at that point. I'm not going. I know you feel some backlash from the old boys club. I don't.
Okay.
I don't. And
That's
so
interesting.
I stayed.
I like
yes,
that.
yes.
We'll get on to that in a second.
So I stayed away from it for a while, and then I ended up. Well, you want to support your mom, and everybody's talking about it.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I
it's
went,
a cool place to be.
and it was the most well attended of all the chamber things. They then turned it into an annual conference. So they had a big day at one of the hotels. I ended up chairing that the first year, so I kind of moved into her seat. She definitely helped me learn how important it was to give back to the community, to stay involved with your chambers, to have your face out there doing what you're doing behind the scenes,
Sure.
right? Is helping people and being a part of your community.
Yeah, I feel that exact same way. We just started this business a year ago, this Next Level Studios, and immediately I want to get involved. And I mean, it's people like you that keep us going. You know what I mean? Like, you have so much knowledge and so much just a real life experience. I mean, I remember the day when we were talking about you give your 1 minute commercial, and I remember Maedon saying, let's look at these commercials and let's look at how best you can get yourself out there,
Well, you're used to doing that with people's resumes, right? So,
You got to do it quick.
yeah.
Yeah, because I was bored with that 1 minute commercial thing. We had to change that.
Yeah. No,
But-
but it's great. The chamber's great because there's people of all ages and people of all different, realms all coming together for the main same purpose. And it's like, I've learned so much through the chamber.
Fantastic.
Like it's been great. So
The other thing that I would comment about that I think was an interesting happening because of the times in the early 90s when digital,
Yeah.
with escalated paychecks for people doing all kinds of things, came around and people were out of jobs and men were putting their suits on and leaving in the morning. Nowhere to go, no interviews, but they didn't want their neighbors to know they were unemployed. I mean, this was a really crucial kind of time because digital was such a big impact. And I don't know where I got the idea, but I set up something called Net Shop. And every Tuesday morning we met in a local church. And sometimes the group would be close to 100, sometimes it'd be 20. A man in the church provided the coffee, he just would have the coffee ready. And people would come, and I had a lot of associates from the chamber and so forth, and they came and spoke. The president of Mount Wachusett came and talked about, a 2-year junior college and how people could gain skills because there were lots of people that were employed with good paychecks that didn't have a variety of skills.
Sure, very
and
specific
out
skill
of
set.
that group, a digital man took a job in a lumber company in Acton.
Okay.
And that was the early 90s. And Maedon, when did he leave?
It's funny, John and I were just talking about him. He retired from there.
He retired from there. So he was probably in his 50s.
He went from digital and went to a lumber company afterwards, and then stayed
And
there.
he loved it.
And he was
And they
a
loved him.
father with a family to support. But that was a case of a man who took advantage of an opportunity, and it made a career time for
That's
him.
fantastic.
A patchwork of his career.
yeah.
That's fantastic. I almost want to get his contact info and have him on the show.
And NetShop was very involved, and it was fun.
And what was the purpose of Net Shop? I mean, it was a
Well,
gathering, but what did you
First
guys
of all,
do?
we had all these resumes now
Yep.
of all these capable people
Yep.
Yeah.
that became Appleseed's stuff.
Fantastic.
And it also involved lots of local. I mean, I mentioned Dan Esquino just because he was one of them, and then I later received a Citizen of the Year award for having started NetShop from the community college. So it was
That's so cool.
kind of one of those give and takes. But we weren't getting the jobs because it was a big downturn.
Yeah.
And so I needed to be doing something that was getting Appleseed's name out there.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And so by meeting every week, that was taxing. But you met a lot of people.
Sure.
Right.
And you helped him with resumes and
Yes,
contacts.
yes. And had all kinds of speakers. I mean, I think of one. I don't know why I think of him. And of course, from the chamber, there were people, and some of the CEOs of some of the plastic companies came. I was fortunate. They responded when I asked. And so we had
That's wonderful.
a wide variety. And of course, there was a newspaper then, so it was and I was able to say for more information, contact Anita Raboyne at Appleseed Personnel.
Anita, you looking for a job?
So,
She's being part of our marketing team.
so I would agree that you were fortunate, but I would even go further than that. I would say that fortune favors the bold, right?
Yes.
And it sounds to me like the approach that you've taken throughout your business has been a bold approach, where you're willing to risk it.
I like to think so. It was all a big risk. The whole thing was a risk.
Everything is a risk. Nina.
But it was, exactly. But it was fulfilling.
Yeah, but you leaned into it though,
Right.
Right. You didn't shy away from that
No.
risk. And I think that was probably the largest pivotal
Right.
moment for you. Now, I want to circle back real quick on something, and you had mentioned that you didn't feel the pushback from the good old boys club the way that Anita felt about that. Do you think that? Do you think that it's because she carved the path and you were following behind, or that environment had changed to the point where it wasn't an issue?
I think it was probably a combination of a lot of things.
Okay.
A combination of my personality in general
Yep.
versus hers. Her she was a well-respected woman in our community, and I was accepted anywhere because of that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And times had changed.
Sure.
And
Okay.
so I think all of those things together, I didn't try to run a business or try to get a job in the 50s
Yeah.
like she did,
Yeah.
So the Old Boy Network, it just, I was a part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was just, so it was different. So definitely in part for what she had already done, my personality and the times
Sure.
all went together to.
Yeah. Awesome. So at this point, I'd like to ask, so what's next? What's down the path for you guys? What's in the future?
So we'll celebrate 40 years the 1st of November. I just celebrated my 60th
My
birthday
self-employment anniversary,
in November.
November 1st.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll go to Via's.
Perfect.
I just turned 60 in May. I certainly have more years that I want to do this.
Yep.
But I have 2 sons that have not shown interest. In fact, my younger son, who's 35, we just had a conversation a couple days ago, and he said to me, "You know what's weird? When I left Mount Wachusett Community College and told you I wasn't going to do any classes anymore, I thought I was going to eventually take over Appleseed. I was going to buy it from you like you had bought it from me, Ma. And now at 35, I realized I never did any work to learn about the business."
Ooh.
So I was like, exactly. They don't really have an interest in the business.
That's
So
okay.
it will be interesting to walk away
Yeah.
from a maybe then close to 50-year family business. But I'm not thinking about that now because,
Yeah.
like I said, I have more years to help more people,
Sure.
and I don't plan to grow. Like I don't want a second office anymore.
Yeah.
I love where we are and what we're doing.
What is your day-to-day role at Appleseed looking like?
So I'm very active in the business because we, right now, are short-staffed. So that's interesting to
staffing
try to
agency is
staff my
short-staffed.
own staffing.
Wow.
Yeah. So I do interviewing. I meet with clients. I have all the, of course, all the back office stuff in terms of payroll and that kind of thing. And I am involved in the chambers. So
Sure.
there's meetings and there's
Yeah.
events and there's all kinds of things
Yeah.
that I'm doing. But I am very active
Okay.
in staying close to the people that are applying for work and
Yeah.
going out to jobs.
All right, awesome. So, so you have your anniversary coming up. You just turned 60, said in May. What other things are on the horizon for Appleseed in regards to future goals, growth, etc.?
I think I would like to continue to grow, but like I said, I don't want to expand locations.
Right.
I really like, where we are and what we're doing, but I do intend to still meet the needs of a growing community.
Sure.
So there's growth from that.
Right. So whenever Leominster-Fitchburg grows, by extension, you have the capacity to do so as well.
And Gardner's one of our biggest areas as well. So
Is it
we are like Athol to Acton,
Okay.
Wow.
with the majority Gardner to Leominster.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I can see that. People going that way.
Yeah, we do a lot of work in Gardner.
Your job applicants, are they primarily centered in Leominster-Fitchburg, or are they also spanning that as well?
They span that as well.
Okay. And so you being located in Leominster poses a potential problem for your Athol applicants to come into your office.
Sometimes it does. So we have the availability in Gardner to meet with people once a week.
Yeah.
At the Worcester Business Incubator has graciously allowed us some space
Okay.
when we need to do that. So
Wonderful.
when I say that we meet people where they're at,
You
we
truly do that.
absolutely will.
That's good.
We
That's
absolutely
good.
will.
What is the number one pain in your business right now? What is the thorn in your side that you're saying, oh, if I could get rid of one thing, it would be this thing?
no shows.
Okay. All right. No, that's
Like, I want
yeah.
to put a sign outside. My daughter-in-law sent me this meme thing that said, now hiring people that show up.
Yeah.
And I thought,
Yeah.
I can put that outside because that's exactly what we need. I need committed people that want to work.
That
And so
want to
that's
work.
my
It's not wrong.
biggest.
Right.
It's not wrong.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, like you could make a name off of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the question is, how do you vet that, right? Like, how do you?
Yeah.
What's the carrot on the stick, right?
Yeah,
So-
and we used to know that because we've always had no-shows. Everybody
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
But it's different now.
Is it significantly more
because-
frequent?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
In all industries?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's a people problem.
It's a people problem.
Yeah.
It's and I think that it's a shift that we're going through. Like
Yeah.
I think some of the reasons it's happening now are going to
Work themselves
figure
out?
themselves
Okay.
out. I really do.
Right.
It's always been a problem, but 32, 33 years I've been doing this, and I still go, huh. I never saw that one coming.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I guess I'm forever the optimist, but
Sure.
that is probably the biggest pain because I have these clients that are counting on me and they have this need that
Yeah.
needs to be
Yeah.
fulfilled, and I say, oh, absolutely, I got you.
Right. But you're putting your name on it.
Yes.
Right. That must
Yeah.
be hard to navigate.
I can't even.
Because you can't control it.
No.
At
Right.
all.
No.
Right, you're forever doing damage control for your name
Yeah.
when you did your part.
Maybe.
You did your
Maybe we need
part.
to gift her one of the dumpster fires.
Very much so.
We'll show you afterwards. I got
yeah.
I got a little desk trinket for some of our back end staff. Every once in a while a dumpster fire happens, right? Like, we have our own people call out, or a
Right.
customer problem, or maybe the files didn't get delivered today, or some snafu, right? And our people are awesome in handling those chains of wins, so to speak, right? But at some point, you're like, okay, this has now become a programmatic problem, right?
Yeah.
And like the whole reliability showing up for work thing, and I think predominantly we have a very, very reliable crew, but there are things that happen. People have mechanical problems with their vehicles, or they'll get into a car accident, or they'll just simply get sick, and that's going to happen, right? So there's some things that you can't help, but obviously our job as business owners is to try to corral the things that you can.
Try to get those. And it's, go ahead, Mom,
No, that's
sorry.
right, that's
Nope.
I just told a story to someone which kind of relates to the people not showing
Yep.
up. I was at a particular company making a visit to the client, and he says, "Is there anything else that I can show you?" And I said, "You know what I'd like to do is I'd really like to drive that forklift." He said, "Okay." Well, I was dressed in business clothes, but I got on the.
When was this?
That was back when I was working.
Okay.
She was like yesterday.
I don't know.
Not recent.
That could have happened
And so
yesterday.
I'm up on this forklift, and I see one of my employees walk out the door. Well, he kept walking, and he just left the job right in front of my eyes. I mean, that's how the no-show. But that was a dramatic one.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
funny thing. But I did drive a forklift.
Yeah.
I mean, not far.
But clearly, you guys are definitely known and liked and trusted. That people keep coming back to you.
Right.
It doesn't. That part probably doesn't matter because they know that that's not you.
Right, that's not,
You have
and
the
we have a
reputation.
lot of things in place. My phone, you can text anytime, day or night. I'm gonna get it if something came up. You have another way to call into the office and leave a message. You have all these opportunities
Yeah.
to do
The right thing.
the right thing.
The right thing.
And my clients know that those opportunities exist.
right.
So, but
So-
it still is, it's frustrating. Like Monday mornings, I open the office on Monday mornings. Why? Why do I do that? And yesterday, I had 5 people at one client, and 3 of them called out. How do you hide from that? You can't hide from that. I was like,
You can't hide. There's no
so
way to
I
hide.
had another client who had some machines down. My guys are out of work this week. I called 3 of them. I said, go, just go, right now, go. They were like, okay, we're going. So I got it filled. That's one thing that is great about using
You
Appleseed
are
personnel
a
because
miracle worker.
right, I can do some of these things, but it's just yes.
You must be really good at poker.
I probably am. I don't know.
It's just that you know how to play some cards.
Yes. Yes.
And you know, there's always something in your back pocket or up your sleeve, right?
Yeah, wheeling
And
and
that's
dealing.
that's integral to the business management.
She has so much more sophisticated equipment to do her job, but the same problems years later
yeah.
True.
still pop up.
It's because they're people problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna pull a card, ask a question, and we're gonna see what happens. If we don't like the card, we can veto it. Feel free. But I'm gonna let you guys go ahead and let's shuffle these a little bit here. Put these on top. So grab your first, read it off for the camera, and if comfortable, answer the question. If not, put it back.
Looking ahead to the upcoming year, which habit do you want to carry into next year? Oh, I know. I was trying to think of all the ones I didn't want to carry in.
That's also equally valid for a question.
Yeah,
yes.
but this one, that's not what this says.
Yep.
Which one do you want to carry into the next year? I want to continue to take super greens
Okay.
because I know I don't get enough, and I'm doing it, and I'm going to continue.
All right. There we are. Super
Perfect.
greens.
Super greens.
What is the one thing that you would make your year great?
Driving a forklift.
I've kind of quit those things.
Yeah. That's passe.
Wow, that's interesting. Obviously, I'm at a time in life where my years are numbered, and so I think about, what would I like to do? My mobility to be better.
Okay. Your mobility to be better. Super greens and mobility to be better. Will super greens help?
I don't know. She may
What
talk
are
me
super
into it.
greens? Yeah, you can do
Yeah.
that.
So it's like you don't get enough of your leafy greens,
Yeah.
so it's superfood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Superfood.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it. She wants to do it now.
Sounds like
I
you
wanted
need to
to
talk
like it.
about that a little bit.
I'm on medication. Doesn't let me eat
Oh
greens.
no.
For what will you congratulate yourself a year from now? Huh. I think remaining awesome to my family, to my business, to my friends.
Okay.
Love
That's
it.
good. That's good.
One
Wanna do
more for you.
Anita?
I'm going to put that in my purse.
To what are you least looking forward? I'm least looking forward to my great-grandchildren growing up. I love them, these little babies.
You have great grandchildren? What ages?
Well, one was born a week ago today,
Congratulations. Okay.
and Maedon has 3 granddaughters that are wonderful, and my moving back to Massachusetts has been enhanced by having time with them.
6, 4, and 3 months.
Yes.
Wow.
They're
All
beautiful.
girls.
They're
Wow.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Joy
So
of my
congratulations to
life. I
you,
bet.
Thank you.
and to you both. That's
it's
wonderful.
my favorite thing.
That's fantastic.
And she's awesome at being a grandma.
Even better. Even better. The ones that wanted to be a mom are the awesome grandmas.
Yeah.
Very true.
And I didn't know. I mean, I always wanted to be a mom, like
Right.
second grade, and everyone said, "You're too young." I mean, all right. But have you seen me with it bathing that little baby doll? I think I can do it. But I was never rushing to be a grandmother. You know, it wasn't one of those dreams. And
Sure.
then when they came, I was like, I didn't realize how much I didn't care about my own children.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's great.
I love it.
It's great.
I love it. That's fantastic. That's going to be me one day. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that. But obviously, it's like completely unknown, right? So
Yeah, you don't
when you
know.
stepped into that role, it was that aha moment. I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Your heart just goes.
Wonderful.
Her
Yeah.
first child, I couldn't wait to get there. She was in Maryland. I had to get there.
Yep.
Something about grandbabies.
That's great. Well, I've really enjoyed we've really enjoyed having both of you guys on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This has been it's inspiring conversation. I'm happy to learn more about your business and some of the trials and successes that you've encountered. And speaking for Kristen and I both, we're wishing you both the best in the future, whatever Appleseed holds, and the best for your mobility this year. And super grains, I'll have to look into that a little bit more. So, but
Thank you.
Yes,
This was
no,
awesome.
thank you so much.
Thanks for
coming.
being here.
This is great.